Okay, you're the cloud expert, so you can teach me later.
There we go. There we go. Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Thank you, Bonnie. So as Bonnie said, my name's Michelle Hereford. I have a freshman at Tahoma High School. And as Bonnie also shared, so I'm, really advocating for public awareness, right? Really awareness in our schools, awareness from the schools, and to bring awareness to the community, and to also just really be openly talking about this. My son, I'm pretty open about what happened to my son. Other people may not want to share that same type of information, but on the 20th of December, 5 days before Christmas, my son took a quarter of this little tiny pill called M30. He was at his girlfriend's house and he overdosed. He had to be revived with Narcan, several doses, as a matter of fact. And when you consider that 97% of drug seizures in Washington state had fentanyl, the 97%, so if you think about whatever it is that you're talking about, you could be talking about a pill or marijuana that's sold illegally, or really anything that's out there, 97% of it's been back with, contaminated with fentanyl. And this isn't just like, playing with smoking pot, like maybe when we were kids, or drinking or anything like that. This is literally going to kill our kids. And we want to make sure that this does not happen to any of our kids, that there's not somebody else who gets to join this club. As of last Friday, I received an email from a friend that said, "Hey, can I introduce you to another mom?" Because she knew what we went through. My husband's on here. Hi, honey. GR right there. And she introduced me to that mom, and found out that particular mom had just had her son also with an overdose just this past Friday. So we don't want anybody else really to join this club, to be honest. And so what Bonnie and I are both here to do, and along with some other folks that are on this call, is really to spread awareness, to let you know what's going on, to share with you some of the things that, in your child's behavior, dress, just kind of everything, what to watch out for, and kind of go from there.
Mm-hmm.
Sound good?
Yeah, well said, Michelle. Thank you so much. So we'll go ahead and get started. Definitely, if you have questions, I encourage folks to ask questions. We are going to be hosting these meetings on Wednesdays from 7:30 to 8:30 for the next several weeks. More to come about that, but definitely are happy to answer questions that we can answer. We're not representing the school, the board, the city, or the police department. We are moms on a mission, trying to bring awareness, like Michelle said too. And so we just want to bring that awareness tonight and kind of introduce you to what is some of the information that we have, so that we can share that with you guys. So I created a little bit of a PowerPoint here for you. So it's important to know that this is not just in the high schools in, King County. This is in Tahoma High School. This is in the middle schools. What is M30? So this is what an M30 pill looks like. Oftentimes it is being sold to your kids as grandma's Percocet. It's safe. This came out of grandma's medicine cabinet. It's not going to hurt you. It's just going to make you happy and feel good for a little while. You'll be fine. But what they don't know is that this is not grandma's Percocet. This was not engineered by pharmacists or at all. This was engineered by people that don't care, drug cartel that are trying to get our kids hooked. And it is laced with all sorts of terrible, terrible things, mostly fentanyl. It's also can be laced with Molly, ecstasy, a number of other things. Literally the size of a pin cap can kill someone. It is often referred to by adults as fentanyl, but is often referred to in our schools by our kids as Percocet and fentanyl. A lot of the kids know what's in it, but most that are new or being introduced to it, they don't know what's in it. Anything else to add to that, Michelle?
Yeah, I would say something to know about fentanyl too. My husband and I, we spend a lot of time. My husband is a chronic researcher. God love him for that, right? So he really goes really deep into trying to understand what's going on. Not only what's happening with the drug itself, but then what's causing this massive uptick, or what, just a lot of different things. And so we've been going back and forth in just our education, and, to find out that fentanyl is, and the other people on here that might even know more than me, but this is from our research and everything, is that fentanyl is 50 times more potent than, and I might get this wrong because I had it right the other day, right? 50 times more potent than heroin, and 100 times more potent than morphine.
Mm-hmm.
And it does not take very much. Like I said, a quarter of a tiny pill like that nearly took my son just nearly about 3 weeks ago. So we got really, you might say, we're moms on a mission, definitely, and dads too. But I was very angry, to be honest. I was very angry. And so when I think about this and I think about how little that would take, there's another statistic that says for the first time use, 25% of folks in the first time use can become addicted just like that. It's that powerful of a drug. You do not want, personally, do not want this drug in the hands of your children. Mm-hmm. And so the more that we can bring awareness, the better.
Mm-hmm. And I posted an article today on my Facebook page, and I know that other people have shared it too. A lot of the drug dealers now are lacing weed with fentanyl as a way to try to get the kids hooked on this. And so kids that think that weed is just weed, it is not just weed. It is being laced with fentanyl as a way to help get these kids hooked on these kinds of drugs. So we'll move on to common signs someone might be using. These are more than above what you may see in a normal teenage behavior. And so constricted pupils, so their pupils get super, super, super pin-sized, tiny, small, very high highs, and state of euphoria, like they're just like off another place and they're just so happy and they're talking and they're just exuberant. It can also go to a few minutes later, because that state of euphoria lasts a few minutes. And some of these can be different for everybody, but this is kind of overall the data that I collected. These are like the most common signs that folks were seeing. Not alert, appears to be off in a different world. So I had one parent say like they had their child, one eye went one way and one eye went the other, literally sitting in front of them, asking them questions. They can appear very lethargic, difficulty speaking or slurred speech as if they're intoxicated. We've had feedback from kids that have seen other kids high in the school, where literally other kids are carrying them because they're so high they can't walk or they're clumsy. This has also been noticed at football games, basketball games, other sporting events. Excessive tardiness in class or skipping school. The kids are using this in the bathrooms at the high school. A lot of the kids would even say the easiest place for them to get it is at school, because it's being so readily used at school. Their grades are starting to slip. So if you had a really strong student, A/B student, and all of a sudden their grades are just tanking, that could be a sign. Complaining of headaches. Their head hurts, they're asking for Tylenol, or just their head hurts more often. Vomiting is a very, very common occurrence. And so a lot of the times after the kids use the M30, if they try to eat something or even not so much, they'll vomit. And if you think that this is happening, oftentimes, especially with girls, we have found that they take pictures. They take pictures of each other, they take pictures of themselves vomiting. Shaking, they get the shakes. They're paranoid, like what's going on around me. They get very angry about everything. They're just angry about the world. They're angry about you approaching them about anything. They just can't handle anything coming at them. Itching or picking their skin. So I remember hearing about this back in the day when I was a teenager, and that was only reserved for, kids in my school that were smoking crystal meth. I mean, really it's opioids. Opioids in general can cause that reaction when it's being overused. Loss of appetite, losing weight quickly. So if you see your kid that is, dropping a lot of weight really fast, that can be it. Complaining of constipation, irregular vitals going up and down. Rural separation from friends and family, and this can look different for everybody, but maybe it's just your child is sleeping a lot, more than they once were, and so they're separating themselves that way, or just wanting to be alone. It can also go to the point of insomnia at night, but they're sleeping at weird times. Like maybe they've used all day long at school to feel this euphoria, to feel this high, to feel somewhat normal, but then they come home and they just crash. They're exhausted and there's no explanation for it. And then at night they can't sleep and they're pacing or something like that. Michelle, do you want to talk to this one too?
Yeah, I mean, in a lot of these, I think, we all, there's a lot of parents that all kind of, contributed to this and what they saw, and certain things you might, we did too. Certain things that we saw, we were like, huh, this is really interesting. He's sleeping at odd times. Like what could be going on, right? That was a tip off right there. But we weren't really sure, as being teenagers, growth spurts, bad sleep the night before. We had a kid with insomnia that wasn't taking drugs, but, so we kind of, you tend to be, oh, it's probably that, right? I would have never have thought it was going to be this, right? The excessive weight loss. Our kid is, GR, what would you say? He's like 6'1" now, something like that?
Yep.
Yeah, so about 6'1". He was 152 pounds in June, and or maybe June or July of this year, and several months later I took him in and he was 137 pounds. So it was a 15-pound weight loss in pretty quick time. I can't even lose 15 pounds that quickly. Well, just kidding. But that's what I'm saying is that, like, seriously, I mean, that was really excessive. And for a growing child, a growing teenager especially, that's definitely a tip off. No food. I took dinner. No, didn't want dinner, right? Not hungry. So those are definitely things to be watchful for.
Definitely. And with 80% of kids struggling with anxiety or depression as well, we have a lot of kids that are maybe on something for mental health right now. Just a lot of people in general. And so oftentimes parents may even think, well, maybe this
we
is
saw it in the
just
theater.
Yeah.
I love it. I think it's fantastic. I think Monique liked it.
I did. I liked it a lot.
I think that, I mean, just in waiting all these years for this movie, it's just.
There we go. Okay, so like I was saying, there's a lot of kids that are struggling with mental health and could be on different medications for anxiety, depression. So we've heard about that from parents too. Just, oh, well, I thought that it was part of the meds that my kid was on. We were administering meds differently for different times. They're back in school now. There's changes. These are above and beyond that. And if I would say, if you look at these list of common signs and any of them fit, question. That would be good advice, I would think. So resources. So Laced and Lethal is a phenomenal resource. GR has developed a great relationship with the folks at Laced and Lethal, and they have given us some great information. And they actually give out free how do you say it, GR? You say it better than I do, or Michelle.
I always call it Narcan because it's naloxone. I'm still learning.
Okay, so I actually went onto their website because I wanted to see how easy this was to get free Narcan. Okay, so I got my box in the mail. It comes in a little box like this. You get free Narcan. You can get up to 2. So I have 2. I have 1 for home and 1 for my car, just in case. And you also get a bunch of free stickers that you can put on your car, put on anything that says I carry Narcan. And this is super easy to use. You can look up on YouTube how to use it. You can even order multiple ones per adult in your household. But everybody should have this on hand because, like Michelle and GR had to face with their son, which they have so gratefully shared with everybody. It's important because you never know who you're going to have in your home, or you never know who you're making contact with, where you may need to use this. And especially with it being so readily available in so many places, or, just the fentanyl in general being so readily available in so many places, but now being in our community, it's more important now than ever to have that on you, because you never know when you could be in charge of having to save a life. Battlefield Addiction, they're also a great resource. We are hoping that Lacey Legal and Battlefield Addiction will be able to come to one of our future meetings to talk more about what they do and the knowledge and why they started the programs that they started. Their stories are very inspiring, and they're local. They're some of our local folks that have faced crises that none of us ever want to face. Fastest labs in Tacoma, if you have any sense that you think your child is using, we have heard great things about fastest labs in Tacoma for drug testing. They're a local husband-wife team that will test back up to 90 days with a hair follicle test for if your child has been using fentanyl, or they'll test for anything else. And they've included their number. Feel free to screenshot this. Friends of Youth, they're based out of Issaquah and Seattle and all over, but they can help with evaluations and treatment options. King County CCORS, immediate support for families in crisis. We've also heard really, really good things about them. GR, Michelle, you guys want to add anything to this?
If I can jump in on the Narcan thing really quick.
Yeah, please.
I had never heard of Narcan before this incident happened with our son, really. And I just want everybody to know that if you don't already know this, Narcan's a simple nasal spray. If you can puff 2 puffs of nasal spray into somebody's nose, you can save a life. And that's how serious it is. And my kid's only here today because our mayor, I can't remember our mayor's name right this second, but he told me that he made sure that all of our police officers have Narcan on them, but the police may not always get there in time. They got to get there within 30 minutes of them taking the drug. And, you know, you figure time to find the person and then time to get the police there, it may not be in time. So I'm on a big mission to try to get everybody to get Narcan. And there's laws in place that if you give somebody Narcan, you can't get in trouble for giving them Narcan. So I forget the name of those laws, but there's laws in place and we can provide you links for that. But just know that even if you're just a bystander, if somebody's next door, like our son was, if somebody's next door and you have Narcan, you can help them. So you can't get in trouble for it. And if you give somebody Narcan that maybe they didn't take an opioid, maybe you think they did and didn't, it does no harm to them at all.
Really well said, GR. Thank you.
Yep.
So, and I do see a question in the chat too, so we'll get to that. And if anybody else has any more questions, we can definitely answer those too. But what's next? More education is going to come. We really feel that that is what is needed in our community, is education and awareness that this is even a problem in our community. And so we want to help provide that education. We're not the subject matter experts on fentanyl, and nor do we want to be, but we definitely want to help support the subject matter experts. And so we want to build our meeting for next week with information from this week and then weeks following that. And so if there's more information that is specific that anybody wants, we are happy to help. And so let me see. So the one question that I see is how many people have overdosed in Maple Valley? We don't actually have those exact numbers. That would be probably a better question for maybe the police, because here's the problem. Not every overdose is reported. I can tell you from working with parents, that there have been quite a few children who have admitted to overdosing, and they're at a friend's house and the friend puts them to bed, just thinking that they're tired and they'll get better, not realizing that they had indeed overdosed. Then they wake up the next day and they realize that that was probably an overdose. I personally know of 4 overdoses that are recent, and I can tell you that the numbers are coming to me quicker. There's other people that may know of more on this call. I can also share that just because they haven't overdosed doesn't mean that those numbers are not growing for kids that are using. I've gotten contacted, and I know some of the other parents on this call have gotten contacted as we've tried to raise awareness of, hey, my kid is using, I hear you're offering support, help me. What do I do? How do I get help? Where do I go from here? Yeah. Michelle, no, I can't hear you. Where did you go?
Oh, I think it was when you
Oh.
muted everyone. Can you hear me okay?
I'm sorry. Yes, I can hear you now.
Oh, no, it's okay. I just forgot to hit *6. So my apologies. I kind of forgot. You know, just to kind of go back to that last, I think it's that last page where you had some of the resources that were in there. One thing I would say about Fastest Lab, so one of the things that we realized when we took our son in, when we suspected, you know, he might be using something, right? We wanted them to test specifically for, you know, marijuana, you know, different kinds of opioids and everything. Well, they don't readily, even if they test for opioids themselves, they don't actually show, unless they're testing specifically for fentanyl, they will not show that in a regular test. If you take them to Multicare, if you take them to Valley Med, they're not going to show that they've been using fentanyl. You have to go to a lab like the one in Tahoma where they're actually going to take it from their hair and be able to trace that back 90 days. And they can actually see it. It reads like it's almost like a ticker tape, right? Where you can start to see the lines, like here's use, right? Here's no use, here's use. So I think that's great. And hey, thank you, Kyle. Appreciate that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Um,
Very cool. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
no, it's okay.
I just wanted to add that little tidbit because I think that's. I'm so sorry. I just wanted to add that little tidbit just because I think that's important. We were frustrated and didn't know, you know, hey, well, why aren't they testing? How can we tell? You know, and that I think is really helpful. So.
Yeah, super important. And that experience that you've had is so important to share because you guys aren't alone. You guys are definitely speaking on the behalf of so many, and it's such an important story to share. Do the middle and high schools have Narcan? That is a very good question, and I encourage you to contact the school to ask and ask them if they know how to use it.
I do know that the high school does. I spoke actually to one of the vice principals there 2 days ago.
Okay.
And the high school does have it available. I believe that was from another parent who's on here that really pushed to have that there, or may have even brought it in herself. So I thank her for doing that, but it needs to be something we can't just have two of, because what if we got a lot of kids in that school. What if you have more, you know, what if that increases? And I would hope to God, I'd never, ever in my lifetime thought I would ever hear of kids taking drugs at school. I've heard of, I'm not gonna lie, I've heard of that, right? Smoking in the boys' room, all that kind of good stuff, right? But what I'm talking about more is quite literally, you know, something that they're overdosing at school. I mean, I've heard of several right now. I've seen it. I've you know, have our kid come home from school and talking about it. So I don't know about the middle school level, but I know that especially at the middle school level, that's where a lot of this started. That's where a lot of them were introduced the very first time, 13, as young as 12 and 13 years of age, which is horrifying because I wouldn't have thought, hey, wait till high school for that stuff. But nope, it's getting them younger and younger.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you talk to your kids about it, yeah, make sure that not all kids know it as fentanyl. You have to say M30 or Percocet or Perks. That's how the kids refer to it as. We call it fentanyl because we know what's in it, but they don't always know, and they just think it's fentanyl.
Can I say something on that front, Bonnie?
Yeah, please.
Sorry, this is just near and dear to my heart. I don't call it overdosing on fentanyl. I call it poisoning. In my opinion, as I've researched this, you're exactly right. These kids are asking for perks, they're asking for Xanax, they're asking for marijuana, and what they're getting is that looking drug, like your picture of the M30 there. The kids are being told it's perks when really the drug dealer knows it's fentanyl. Maybe even the drug dealer giving it them doesn't know it's fentanyl, but somebody does. And these kids are getting poisoned. And that, if you do the research that I've done over the last 2 weeks, it was December 20th that my kid had his poisoning. It is shocking to see what is going on. And Michelle, you said it right. I would have never thought that we'd be in this situation. But the example I like to use is it's like if you ordered a pizza at home tonight, but on the way to giving your pizza to you, the driver decided to put rat poison in your pizza and then delivered your pizza. Well, you got what you ordered, you got the perk that you ordered, but he decided to put something else in there for his own benefit, and now you're dead. And that's different than 80s, 90s, early 2000s drug issues. This is not the heroin of yesterday. This is a poison being put into our kids' drug of choice. Unfortunately, I disagree that they should be taking any drugs, but my mission is to get this poison away from Maple Valley.
Well said. Well said, GR.
Hello, this is Shane Ross. Yes, I do agree with you, but I do believe that they know exactly what the hell they're pushing out there. And fentanyl, they know damn straight. Once you get a hold of it, they're going to be hooked.
Yep,
And
I agree.
Take their asses down.
100%. Yep.
I don't know. To get this out there, I don't know what we need to do to make everybody aware of how dangerous this shit is. And I don't care. You can paint whatever picture you want on it, M30s or Percocets or whatever. When it comes down to the bottom of the day, these people know what the hell they're pushing.
That's right. Yep.
Oh yeah.
They do. They do.
I don't know. I don't have any more to say. It's suicidal, you know, what
Oh yeah.
they're doing to our kids.
I can hear the emotion in your voice, dude. I feel the exact same way. And I think all the dealers know exactly what they're pushing. And if you saw some of the things that I've seen on text, it's even worse than just the drugs. So it's how they're getting.
Yeah. Oh yes, I know. I've seen a lot of shit that I don't even care to be seeing from. I don't have an easy background, but the stuff that I see that my kids have gone through, they don't need to have that.
Nope, they
And
don't.
none of our kids need to have that.
No, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. Hey, one really quick thing I wanted to mention. So Kyle, you talked a little bit about a kind of a national speaker. So I did receive an email today. It was forwarded to me, or it was sent to me by Carrie Burr. She's one of the vice principals at Tahoma High School. I was very direct with her, as I've been very direct with most people, and just that, you know, number one, you know, I personally, I'm not the type of person that necessarily, I'm going to demand kind of follow up, right? I want answers, I want timelines, I want things to happen in a certain time frame, right? Because I believe it's that important to get this information out to our community. That was the first thing I did. I mean, within 12 hours of, you know, our son, you know, bringing our son home from the hospital and learning about all this and having him be, like my husband said, poisoned and having that overdose. I literally took to social media and really told people what the hell happened. And it was scary to put ourselves out there, but at the same time, I didn't want to see anybody else in our community have this happen to them. And then I learned, you know, through the course of some friends that are on this call and met some other friends on this call, that it's happening quite a little bit more frequently than I would like to see. And it's happening frequently. When I'm starting to hear about it on a weekly basis, it's gone way too overboard. So I did reach out to Carrie. She did send me a message that because I'm out here in Boise, Idaho for work today, I was in most meetings most of the day and did not have a chance to read it until about 15 minutes before this call. So Kyle, she did mention, she said, wanted to follow up with about our conversation last night. She talked to Liz Siebert, who's the district wellness coordinator, and another, I don't know what SBIRT stands for necessarily, but I think that's for the, and maybe some other folks, maybe I think there's a Tahoma board member on here that might be able to speak to what THS SBIRT is. I'm not as familiar with that lingo, but if anybody wants to speak up, I'm not sure, or I could just keep going.
Yeah, it was the experts were presented in the site plans, and it's really about I think it's just identifying and rehabilitation. And I don't remember what the acronym was. I'd have to go back to my notes, but it's really talking about finding and identifying the kids that are having trouble, finding out what is the trouble, and then getting them back into a plan to help them get through it. In that meeting, I did pass along the information for one of these national spokespersons that I was introduced to back in 2017. He's been fighting for drug addiction in schools all up and down the East. He's seen it all in Philadelphia, in Baltimore, in Ohio, Pennsylvania, New York, all the way up through Florida. And he is he's a wonderful human being. that is trying to give back, and he wants to get out here desperately because he just knows what's coming, because he's already seen it happen in his states that he's lived in, and he wants to get out here as a friend. So.
Yeah, is this the person? So what I was sent was, I was forwarded an email that came through on December 16th. Actually, it's called Steered Straight. Does that sound familiar?
That's correct. It's Michael De Leon, and he's
Yep.
He runs the Recovery Army, and he's a recovering addict, recovering and former gang member. He's got an incredible life story that he can tell about where he is today, and it just resonates with kids. It resonates. He understands where they were, what they were doing. He also has a program for the parents to help them, similar to what you're showing, is what are the signs? How do you find out, subtly how your kids are really doing in school and what's going on in between classes and in between sleep sessions. So
yeah. And some of the reason I wanted people to know even about our son was, to be honest, accountability. And so just kind of like what you spoke about is when other kids know kind of what to watch out for, right? They're gonna hold their friends accountable, right? They're hopefully in many areas, right? So she did say, so here's where, while she gave me some really great info, my follow-up plan with her and anybody else is going to be, because in the email she says, we've been working on this for quite a while. Well, that could be 6 months, that could be the last 3 weeks, who knows, right? But what I want to see is what do we need to do today to get to that next step in bringing that into our community, right? If it's something like that where he's going to talk, and I do appreciate, because they've got to consider at Tahoma School District that there's more than just drugs, right? There's more than just, we're talking about mental health. Mental health has taken a nosedive, especially among, our teens and young kids throughout this pandemic. So, they talk about vaping, addiction, suicide, and bullying, right? So they cover kind of a well-oiled machine, if you will. And so I thought that was pretty good so far. I do have some links and everything that I'm happy to share. Bonnie, I'm happy to pass them on to you. And if you'd like to follow up with anybody, or I can post them.
And I can just add them to the collection.
Yeah. Because I think the more, that was the one thing that I did say to the school district, and I said, where I thought the school district has fallen down, and this is my personal opinion, this is what I shared with them the other day, was that I said, she said, well, we've been doing this, we've been following up with this. And I said, appreciate that. And I said, but when somebody comes to you, and a parent comes to you and they're concerned, and they tell you their kid nearly died, they know that some of the other students in the school, they've got names of some of the students in the school that are dealing, and there's not much that's being done. And she's like, well, we're investigating this and we're doing this. And I said, hey, that's all well and good. And I said, but I go, where you failed is in the follow-up. Who knows what happens when? How are you getting the word out that this is going on? It doesn't shine bad on you, these kids are doing this, right? It doesn't shine bad on the district necessarily, right? What shines bad on the district is when you fail to act, and when you fail to communicate with the very people that are bringing to you their frustrations, their what's going on, and they're telling you issues that are happening right under your noses, and you're not communicating back to them. And she did take that, and I also, kind of told her, I said, hey, if I don't hear from you by Wednesday, and I said I would either expect a call or an email, and if I don't hear from you by Wednesday, I'll be calling and emailing you back by Thursday morning. And so she did call and she did email. So I appreciate that. I appreciate the follow-up, and I do want to take that to the next level and get more information out there. And that's really where this starts tonight. So
Absolutely. Well said.
I want to pass on that information to you.
Hey, Bonnie.
What was that, Bonnie?
Bonnie.
I was just saying, well said, but go ahead, Nita.
Bonnie, we at least I did, and with the help of a lot of others, we compiled a list of potential actions moving forward.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
As a starting place that we could send out to this group and have them provide input on. Do they like the ideas? Which do they think are the most important? Do they have different ideas? And we could share that next week ahead of this January 21st meeting that you have planned with the city.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's a great idea, Anita. And I'm gonna add the other stuff that Michelle was just talking about, the other resources that Michelle was just talking about. I think those are important too.
And it reaches beyond the school. The school is just one spoke in the wheel. It's an important one, but it is broader than that.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree.
There's a question in this chat that I think we should, are the dealers known, and are the juveniles dealing in the schools? I don't know. I can't comment on whether the dealers are known or not. I think that there's probably some suspicions in this group, at least some names floating around, but they're absolutely using the kids in the school to spread it around further in the school. And GR, maybe you want to talk about it, but they are using some really awful tactics to try to get these kids to act. And GR, I think you had a little bit more information about this last week, but it's pretty scary stuff.
Yeah, if you guys don't mind, I mean, it is kids in the school that are getting hooked on the drugs, and then to pay for their addiction, they're being told by the adult dealers, and this is some of what we've gathered so far. Some of it is absolute evidence. They're being told by the adult dealers, you can pay full price, or you can start selling drugs to your friends, or I mean, I know the boys, some of the boys are being groomed and taken by the adult dealers to go do criminal acts, typically theft of alcohol and believe it or not, expensive cologne bottles out of stores. And it seems like these people have some sort of ability to get into these stores, and they can go back over and over and over, and they know when to go. They know which employees are going to allow them to do it. And they make these teens go in my opinion, because it seems like the adults stay out in their cars, the adult drug dealers stay out in their cars. They force the teens to go in and get it. And I believe they do that because they know if the teens get caught stealing something, King County is not going to do much to the teens. But if it was an adult, they would get them. And so they're literally using your kids as throwaways, as, you know, just get as much, you know, criminal activity from a kid as they can until they get caught, and then on to the next one.
Yeah, and to add to that,
Yeah.
we collect a lot of commonalities through this process. Like I said, I've been involved in this process since October. And so there's been a lot of commonalities that I have collected, and I have a whole giant thing of notes here just to keep record of what we've been told. Some of what we've been told, especially when it comes to the girls, is it's very much like a pyramid scheme. Okay, so the kids, they get introduced to it, and they're told, just try this. You'll like it. It'll make you feel good. It'll make you happy. You only have to do it once or twice. But the second that they get them hooked, they're no longer on the outer ring. They get brought into the inner ring, and they're told, you don't have to pay for it if you do one of two things. So the one thing is you can start selling, and then your costs will go down. Or two, you can do sexual favors. And that can look different depending on who they're with. But that is a commonality that I found talking to other parents amongst the girls. I think it's different with the girls versus boys. I think GR and I have had that conversation too. It just that there is some differences in how the kids are being approached. And to go back to some of what's being talked about in the chat, yes, we have identified names that do continue to come up. That information for the juveniles especially has been shared on multiple occasions with the school. The school is limited though to what they can then share back with us as parents that they have done with that information for privacy laws, right? So you hope that they take that information and they do what they're supposed to do with it. But I am not 100% sure. That would be a great question for the school, what they've done with it and how they're handling it. The police, it's very, very hard. The police is definitely folks as subject matter experts I want to bring in and have them come and talk, because I think that what they have to share is extremely important. We have more rights than they do at this point, the police. They can go up to our teens and they can say, I just saw you using. let me check your backpack, or let me do this. They don't have much leeway when it comes to teenagers. All the teenagers have to do is basically say no. And they have to offer them an attorney. And the second the attorney gets involved, the attorney's gonna say, don't talk. And by then the drugs are gone. Or something has happened to the backpack or whatever. But we have more rights. We can search our teens. You know, like, give me your backpack, I'm gonna look in it right now, or strip down, because girls hide it in their bras, boys hide it in their junk. So there's lots of things that we can do. There's videos that I can even share in the next meeting if you guys want to see those, that talks more in depth about what you should be looking for, where you should be looking, that are really, really important to see. And
Yeah, I'll add one more thing to that. Something that Dana said here, where she writes, the year 2020 is on track to be the deadliest year for fatal fentanyl overdose, with over 200 deaths so far this year in King County alone. You know, I know we're talking about teenagers and we're talking about our kids today, but I don't know if you guys know this statistic, but this was for a 2020 statistic. Fentanyl overdose has become the #1 cause of death among U.S. adults ages 18 to 45, more than COVID-19, motor vehicle accidents, cancer, and suicide. That's big. I mean, when you're talking about 18 to 45, which I'm in neither of those groups, so I'm a little bit outside the 45 range. I don't fit in that group, but at the same time, I'm thinking, holy hell, that's 18 to 45. And they're getting them as young as our kids are. They're getting them in 12 and 13 years of age and everything. And maybe they're lasting, they're trying other stuff and everything, or maybe they die. And that, in this statistic, I don't even want to look up the teenage statistics at the moment, right? I know it's probably going to be excessive, either now or in the future, or already has been. And so that's just something I wanted to share, just kind of on top of what Dana was saying in the chat.
Yeah. There was a parent, I believe, in the last meeting that said it best. COVID's not going to kill my kid, fentanyl is. And unfortunately, that is the scary truth if we don't get our hands around this. And Kyle messaged me and said, what about a trained dog? A trained dog would be great. Unfortunately, we are down to 1 trained dog. In Maple Valley, we had a drug unit of 9, but due to budget cuts, we are down to 1. His name is Bobby Todd. He's an officer and he's amazing. And I've had the privilege of talking to him and hearing his passion to ending this in our community. And the dog is not trained. I can tell you though, from talking to another police officer, who I won't share his name, who had, he was on a call, and there was fentanyl, and it was liquid in a water bottle, and he went to sniff the water bottle to see if it was alcohol, and had to learn a very, very tough lesson, a very hard way. Ended up in the hospital and almost died from smelling it. So.
Yeah, that's another thing too. I'm glad that you brought that up, because the night that this happened to our son, we were actually, once he was revived and he was on his way to the hospital, one of the things that the paramedic shared with both myself and my husband was, if you find any more of the pill, because remember, he just took a quarter of that little pill. So if you find any more of the pill, please do not touch it. Wear gloves if you find it, because I was in a potential for overdose just by touching it. It's that serious.
Yeah. And Annie asks a good question. Are there licensed nurses working in the nurse's office at the schools? Please call and ask the school. I don't have the answer.
Yeah, I believe they are going to be licensed, if I'm correct in that, but definitely something to ask the district. But because Carrie did share some information. They aren't licensed nurses, but they're, what kind of training they have in this area might be a little bit smaller than what we would like to see.
Any other questions or ideas? We would love your guys' ideas or your feedback and anything as regards to what more we can offer. We don't want this group to grow. We don't want this, as far as like the group of parents that are facing their child having to be in a situation of overdose or using. We don't want that group to grow. And so if there's anything
Yeah.
that you, any ideas that you guys have, we want community participation to grow, absolutely. But we don't want a group of parents dealing with this to grow, or kids.
I guess, Bonnie, really quick, so we went through, we had 9 drug sniffing dogs, right? And now we're down to 1.
Nine officers, I'm sorry, I didn't say that right. We had 9 officers that I'm aware of, that were in a
Okay.
drug, like the drug division of the Valley Police Department, due to budget cuts. That's what she was.
Wow, and now we only have, now we only have 1? That's a big budget cut.
Yeah, I don't know what.
Wow.
But I'd love for the police to come talk to us because their information is really important.
Heck, I'd love to find out what it's going to take to have a drug sniffing dog that's specifically around fentanyl, you know, and I mean, it's a dog, right? So, I mean, I don't know. I think that's something that could be very useful. I see Rachel said it. I think somebody else might have said it too, but I think that's a great idea. I don't know if the district would be on board with that, but I'm definitely on board with it. And I'd, you know, whether budget cuts or not, I'd want to know, well, how much does it cost? Right. And then I would start working with the rest of the community to go, okay, let's fundraise. I'll fundraise like a crazy person, right? To make sure that we can do it.
We did speak to the police about it, and it's $45,000 to get one of these dogs. They started off with 14, but when they legalized marijuana, they had to retire most of the dogs because they were no good anymore. There is a dog, a King County dog. There is a King County dog named Fury that is helping to get fentanyl off the streets right now. He's made multiple busts this year already. And there are also dogs that you can rent and bring them into schools, for instance, you know, like at an hourly rate. That is possible. But in my opinion, and I think it's a good one. I think it's a good idea, and I think we should use it if we think it'll be helpful. But it's not the only thing. And I hear you, Bonnie, saying we don't want anybody in this club, and we don't want anybody, of course, to have to go through this with their children. But the more people that know about this, even if their kids aren't doing it, the more people that have eyes on and can suspect and evaluate this from a wider perspective, at least to know to look, the better off we'll be.
Absolutely.
And part of this mission, Moms on a Mission, is to get the word out. So if people want to participate just simply so they can know more, of course we want that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to also mention, just really quick, I want to thank Haley Pendergraft. I could see her on the call. She was at the school board meeting yesterday, and she did raise awareness that we're meeting and what we're doing and what our goals are. So thank you, Haley, for doing that. And so I think that her voice is going to be important because it's all of our voice too.
Thanks, Bonnie. If you guys have just a minute, do you guys have a minute for me just to share a few things?
Please.
Okay.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Thanks for having me. You guys have done so much legwork here. I learned a ton tonight, and I would also consider myself somebody who's been involved in this sort of topic for a lot of years. Hi, Angie, Battlefield. I love Angie. She and I worked together on a few different projects. We had actually a great experience together a few years ago, and I've also employed a few of her kids from her program, and they were some of the best kids. One guy worked for me for 3 years, and I think about him often. He's made huge strides in his life and just a really, really good kid. So I believe in Angie's program hugely. She has, she's a wealth of knowledge, and I'm really happy that you guys have connected with her. So I can't say enough great things about Angie. So as I said, I'm, for those of you who don't know me, Haley Pendergraft. I'm recently elected to the board. I'm a mom. I have a high school son. I also have a daughter who's in elementary school. And I'm hoping to be a partner with you guys. I think you are all so incredibly brave. I mentioned this last week, for coming here and for sharing your stories. I hate that you have to do this and use your family as an example. But by you doing so, it is such a selfless act, and you are helping to educate and bring awareness. And I can't thank you enough for that. you're really benefiting the greater good. And it's beautiful. So thank you for that. And I'm sorry for what you've had to go through. Every time I think of you guys and I think of this group, and I've been working on this daily alongside some of you, I just think about how this could be any one of our kids. It could be my son. It could be some of the boys that hang out at my house all the time. I oftentimes laugh and call my house a community center because my doors are always open, and I'm sure like a lot of you. And I love that. I've had some of your kids actually from this call over at my home. And it could be any one of our kids. So I'm here as a mama bear, but I'm also here as your school board director. But with that, I want to be real clear that I am one voice. I've learned a lot in my new role. We work together as a collective. We are a board of 5 members. And so when I'm here with you, yes, I am part of the school board, and I'm here to partner with you, and I'm here to listen to you and to find what you need and try to help connect and draw connection points and help in this effort. But I'm just one voice. I am not representing the school board. So I just want that to be real clear that I'm just representing myself, my own personal beliefs in my role, but I'm not speaking for everybody else. So I just want to be, clear about that. So last night I did mention each of the school board members gets to speak for about 3 minutes and kind of give a report about what they've done in the week and kind of celebrations or things that they've worked on or where they've been or kind of the work that they're doing. My intention is to bring light to this every week in my report. I only have 3 minutes, and although this is near and dear to my heart, and I ran my election on part of this mental health and well-being, and it's huge to me. I have addiction in my family. Like I said, Angie and her work is near and dear to my heart. It's very important to me, and I like I said, I ran on that as one of my pillars. So I intend to use my 3 minutes to try to just continue the awareness and continue just to add anything that I can bring from you all, or any kind of connections I can make, or to talk about any kind of growth, any kind of celebration, or any kind of needs that we need. So I'll do my best in that. But guys, I wear my heart on my sleeve. I'm new at this. I'm doing my best. I'm just kind of trying to figure out my role and how I can connect all the points. So last night was kind of my first night just to say I was honored to be able to sit with you all and to listen to your stories, and that my goal is to continue working with you all, and that this is something that's going on in our city, and that I'm going to do everything I can in my power to help. So that was kind of my intro to that. And like I said, I'll continue with that weekly. I'd like to, if I can, just give you guys updates when I have them about anything that's kind of gone on, anything that I've shared with anybody, and then any information that I've gotten. So since last week, I've been in quarantine with my kids. So I haven't been quite as active as I would love to be, more kind of phone calls and that kind of thing. But I have made some, a little bit of movement. I've spoken with Mr. Hansen quite a bit about your guys' group. I know a lot of you have also had contact with him. He is very, he's excited that your group is gathering. He thinks this is excellent work. And he's proud to have this in the community, and he's very aware that I'm involved with you all. I have also reached out to Dana Pernello. He's deputy mayor, and of City of Maple Valley. He's an awesome guy. I don't know how many of you know him, but he's great to talk to. He's a great resource, and he's really on board for supporting the youth of our city and our community. And so he and I are arranging a meeting between myself, Liz Thiebert, of course, you guys all know, in charge of the wellness team at Tahoma, and then also Dana, and then it's, oh goodness, I hate it when I do that. Heather, it's Heather from the city. Heather.
Stephanie.
Bonnie?
Stephanie.
Thank you, Stephanie. Sorry, a lot of names lately.
That's okay.
So she's also going to be joining us, and then a few other people from the city as well. So we're working to try to get, and then also Mike Hansen will be at that meeting. We're working to try to find a time where all of our schedules, so we can all be in the same room together. So that's hoping to be not this coming week, but the week after. We think that we're going to be able to get that date together so that we can kind of create a baseline and find out where we're at currently. So that's upcoming. I was able to meet with Mr. Ben Todd today and Mike Hansen and kind of understand, again, I'm a learner. I'm a lifelong learner. I want to understand kind of where we're at. I'm learning right now where we're at as a city, where we're at as a school, where our kids are at, kind of the issues that are going on and what they're seeing. And so this week at the high school, I thought you guys would like to know that there will be a segment in the Tahoma staff meeting that's going to be talking about for their staff members what to look for in terms of drug use and overdose. So they're going to have that segment this week in their staff meeting. So I thought you guys would like to know that. That will be going on at the high school. Like I said, I met with Ben Todd. He's very on board with all of this. He's open arms. He wants to meet with families. He wants to work together as partners. And so I really appreciated being able to have that time with him today and Mr. Hansen just to kind of talk about the issues and where we're going with things. And then I've also had some time to reach out and talk a little bit with other board members, but they were kind of informed last night during the board meeting during my 3-minute spiel as well. Upcoming, I'm meeting with Liz Thiebert tomorrow morning just to get a game plan where we're at, where we're going. And that will be, like I said, tomorrow morning. And then I'm hoping to attend your meeting on the 21st. I'm going to be traveling, but I can zoom in on that just so I can kind of keep up to speed with you guys with what you're doing and what you're working on. The other thing I wanted to talk about is a couple things. There are, as I've learned, there's a lot of kind of legal issues, and I'm not the one. So in my role, I'm not the one to tell you guys, legally the school can do this, they can't do that. I'm trying to stay in my lane. I have a lane and I'm trying to stay in it. So whenever anything like that does come up, I would recommend, would it be legal for us to have a police dog? Or would it be legal for us to, once we give you a list of names, like I've heard you guys kind of talk about that, can you give me information about what you've done with those things? A lot of those things are legal issues. So I would just encourage you to make sure that you reach out to the school and find out, well, why, can you give me this information? So much of the time, FERPA and everything else, like there's roadblocks with what they can do. So that's all I'll say on that, but that's their phones are on and they're listening. So ask them those questions so you can get that information. One thing that you guys touched on, yes, the SBIRT is a great way for us to kind of find out who is in need of services. But one thing is, that's like kind of the more formal process. And that's what I was learning a lot about today, about how to identify those kids and then hook them up with the correct services. But the area that I think the wellness team is working on is when somebody calls and says, hey, my child hasn't maybe been identified in a very official manner, but I'm concerned. Like you guys went over all those kind of awareness points. What happens if a parent is noticing those things? I think, Michelle, you were talking about like your son losing all that weight. What do you do with that when you find out? You call the counselor and you say, hey, I'm noticing, a lot of these things going on with my child. What are you seeing at school? So that kind of does look like it's maybe a hole and maybe an area where resources and supports can be improved. And so that's really kind of what I'm interested in learning about the plans for that piece, because I think that that's where maybe we're losing some people or some families. That's kind of what I'm hearing. So that's one thing I'm interested in. I would love, Mita, I know that you have a list of, you've created a nice list of kind of some objectives, but I think that that's great. If you guys continue on with that work and can give me, or, if you don't feel comfortable giving it to me, to somebody, like this is what we want to see. I know that awareness is a big one for you guys. Education is a big one for you guys. But I would say if we could just like continue to evolve those thoughts so that the district knows and the city knows, this is, as parents, as people who've been through this, people who are concerned, this is what you're looking for. I think that hard kind of tangible information is huge, and it's a good kind of accountability piece. And it also just helps, make sure that work is moving forward. So as much as you guys can do on that, I think that's awesome. And then my goal is to be here to listen to you guys, to support you guys, to give feedback when I have it, and then to bring information to the board and to the district as best as I can to my ability. And I'm always open. You guys can call me. You can email me. I'm here. I'm here to partner with you. So thank you again. And again, I'm humbled by you all. You're all so brave, and I'm so grateful to you for working for the best interests of our kids, of our community. So thank you.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Haley. We really do
Haley.
appreciate you
Before-
being here. Go ahead, Brenda.
Before you end tonight, I would like to just say it's been a very good discussion. I'm pretty impressed with just the education in this group just in a week. You guys have really worked hard. The one thing I would say is, yeah, there's all kinds of laws with everybody. And I know the school has to look at the FERPA laws and all those things. And that's why they kind of tie your hands with what they can and cannot tell you. So they're, every system has those things. The one thing that I think you have some really good ideas for what's going on in here and now around the drug usage. But one thing I would encourage this group to do as you move forward, and it may not be right away, but I wonder in my mind what you might need to think about, or think about the precursors to the kids' usage to begin with. Why is it happening? If it truly is happening when they're 12 years old or 13 years old in your district, what has to happen prior to their first usage? Because I would agree with JR. It's instantaneous. It's a drug you can hardly get away from once you try it. And so my question would be what do we need to offer the kids prior to that, so they have a stronger insight and knowledge base and the ability, or at least the social support, to never partake? And so I guess, to me, I think about those things as a group, because I would like to equip the kids with the sense of empowerment that they don't have to do that. They don't have to get into the legal components. And so I know those answers aren't clean. I know they aren't easy, but I hate for all of us to always wait till after the fact.
I agree.
I 100% agree. Yeah, very, very well said. I agree, absolutely. And definitely something, that's a conversation I know GR and I have had actually very often. So definitely something to talk about for sure for these next several meetings.
Yeah.
Thank you, Brenda, for bringing that up.
No problem.
Thank you. I know we're out of time, and I think you guys were staying over a few minutes. There has been a few comments just about the meeting on the 21st, so I just want to shine a little bit of a light on what that is. There are several of us that are partnering together. Myself and GR, Stephanie Williams from the city, other city folks, Liz Siebert from the district, along with other folks that are going to be partnering together on the 21st. We're going to be coming up with a webinar for the community of sorts that is going to bring in potentially subject matter experts and give bite-sized nuggets of information that we can all take from that and learn and grow, and hopefully make this problem non-existent in our community. So more to come on that. We'll keep everybody posted on when that will be and what that's going to look like. I've written down a ton of ideas. I want to thank you guys all for showing up late on a Wednesday night. And I hope to see you guys next Wednesday too, as we continue to work through this problem in our community. It's not just any one person's problem, it's the community coming together to work on this. That's really going to make the difference. I want to thank everybody that commented or showed up, posted on Facebook today to get people here. Your support means a lot. And Michelle, thank you for sharing your story and being such an amazing voice for this group, and your husband too, and my co-host today, my badass mom co-host today.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, thank you. We will do our best to record this and share that recording. That part is new to me, and I will do my best. So have an amazing night, you guys. Thank you so much again. Bye.
Thanks, Bonnie.
Everyone.
You got it. Thanks, everyone.
Keep Bonnie.
Thanks. Bye.